The opinions expressed on the radio program by the hosts, co hosts, guests, and call in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Genesis Radio, www.genesisradio.com, Genesis Radio's owners, management, or affiliates. Want to know?
Hey, we are back with another segment of My Brother's Keeper after a brief hiatus. So joining me in studio today is the mastermind, TP Square.
Yes, yes.
And today we're going to talk about the priorities of the black community, or do we have any? So, TP, about, I guess a couple of weeks back, my wife showed me a video that the comedian Monique did.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about, I guess, primarily black women, and this thing with walking around with scarves on their head
Mm-hmm.
and dressing inappropriately, like,
Mhm.
going out to the store wearing pajamas, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And, it caused somewhat of a ruckus. People responded immediately.
Mhm.
A lot of people became defensive
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to defend, walking around. Look, I have a right to look however I choose,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't really think that was Monique's point.
They missed. They actually missed the point.
Completely. And that's why I said today I wanted to find out by asking the question, what are our priorities? Because when Monique said that and she posted this video, a lot of people immediately responded. Yet, whenever there's an important issue, we don't have nothing to say. Across the nation, and in particular in large cities, the crime rate is skyrocketing. In places like Chicago, on a weekend, you might see 20, 30 people shot. A half a dozen or so fatally. We ain't saying nothing about that.
Mm-mm.
When you talk about the educational gap, the gap in terms of cyber awareness, or just having a computer,
Mm-hmm.
we're lagging way behind. We're not saying nothing about that. But anytime there's some sort of hint of a scandal, something about appearance, for ladies, if it's a topic comes up and you talk about, say, hair weave, you talk about the style of dress, you talk about the scarf. For brothers, you talk about the pants falling off their behinds. You talk about the constant use of the N-word, right? And the do-rag, right? People want to come on and defend that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about the fact that there are several southern legislatures that are seeking to overturn the right to vote,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these Republican-held states are saying, we don't want you to vote.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have nothing to say about that.
Nothing to say.
So what are priorities of the black community? What is important to us? Is it the foolishness of, well, I think I can wear my scarf. I think I can wear my pants sagging off my behind.
My opinion is this. It's ironic that you picked this topic today, because this ties into my show that I did 2 weeks ago. I did a show and it was called Times 10. And the reason why I called the show Times 10 is because black folks do everything times 10. Times 10. Everything we do, we take it to the extremes.
Right.
And what was ironic was the difference between what black men do times 10 and what black women do times 10 is totally different. And the panel had men on it and women on it. So the men talked about the times 10 that we see women do,
Mm-hmm.
and the women talked about the times 10 that they see that men do, and it was totally lopsided.
Right.
All they could talk about men is the N-word, the sagging pants, and how their poor choices of words of how they portray women when it comes to the rap music and all this other stuff.
Right.
But the times 10 with the women was eyelashes that look like bird wings.
Right.
You know, excessive weave and makeup and you know, walking out here with hair bonnets and caked on makeup and all this other stuff. We are so consumed with trying to look successful and wealthy that's all we care about. Our wealth is in our closet and it's parked in the driveway. There's no conversation about generational wealth, and there is no conversation being held in the black community, unfortunately, about politics and how they're going to affect black people moving forward in the future. And the more we try to talk about that and bring that up, people say we're breaking, we're tripping. And that's why Monique's point went over the head, because you know what? If these people took more time out to concentrate on progression, you know, and moving black people forward, it won't be time to spend $700 a month on a weave.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Or it won't be time, you know, like these young men. You wouldn't go out and buy a 10-year-old Mercedes Benz for $30,000.
Right.
You know, because somebody need to be telling you about financial wealth.
Right.
Teach you about that and what's really important. And then somebody should be talking to you about politics and what's going on and how it's going to affect us and our great grandchildren. Nobody's having that conversation, and when we try to have it, we get shot down.
Right. You know, and it's all the silliness that you constantly hear. You know, you look at social media, and people having beefs on social media.
Yes.
And the sad part is, you take a family like the Kardashians. They have no talent. They don't sing. They don't rap. They don't dance.
Nothing.
But in terms of their marketability, what is it? 3 of them are billionaires. At least 2 of them for sure. Kim and the youngest one, right?
No.
That was a false statement.
It wasn't a false statement. It was not a false statement. Kim's a billionaire.
Right.
And the 2 Jenner girls are billionaires.
Right. So I knew there was at least 2 of them.
It's
right?
3 of them.
So
the other two Kardashian girls aren't billionaires, but they're very close to being
they're
billionaires.
extremely wealthy, and you know, instead of using the platform of social media to go out there and market ourselves, market our skills, market our products, we're talking about a beef. We're talking about what's going on some of these TV shows. I used to see every week there was something on Facebook about power, about what Ghost did, what Tommy did.
Right.
Nothing about bringing money to the black community.
Right.
And you know, I looked at it, right? You know, they said that money circulates in the black community one time before it leaves. I think they said money's in the black community for 6 hours before it leaves.
Well, right, 6 hours before it leaves, because the latest number that came out, that's about right what you said, because I was looking at a documentary on Netflix, and they said that they compared the money that stays in the black community to the money that stays in the Jewish community.
Right.
And they said that it's 0.4. I don't know, I'm not going to say it was hours, but they said, you know, the money stayed in the Jewish community 21 days before it leaves. All right? And it said that money stayed in the black community 0.4 days before it leaves the community, which means that it doesn't stay.
No.
Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're including the drug dealer in that 0.4.
Right.
It's the black drug dealer who he gets money out of the black community, nobody else.
Right.
Because everybody else that has a business in the black community are not from the black community. You know what I mean? They're the
usually not.
The Chinese restaurant, that guy's going back to where his community is. You know, the guy from Yemen, he's going back to wherever his community is. You know, it's not staying there.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's sad. But the thing is this. You know, pop culture has shaped and molded the minds of us. And our role models have sold us out. 50 Cent. A guy like 50 Cent. And I know 50 Cent.
Right.
In fact, he was just at my niece's house over the weekend. They had something over the weekend. I'm not sure if he was there, but Tony Yayo, which is part of G Unit, is married to my niece.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a big thing out at this house on Long Island, right? So,
But 50 was here. When he got shot, he was right here in the poker.
yeah. Oh, I know.
He stayed here.
He was hiding out here.
Yeah.
But the thing is this. 50 puts all these products out, these TV shows, these movies. It's just glorifying the destruction of black males. It's all drug dealing stuff. It's murder, death, kill. There's nothing positive. But then they want to talk crap about Tyler Perry, about what he's doing. And, oh, Medea. Oh, you know what? Guess what? Everybody had a Medea in their family. It's just that he's playing the role of Medea. But he's not playing the role of a gay man. He's playing the role of Medea. Two different things. But you look at what Tyler Perry put out, and you look at what 50 Cent's putting out.
Mm-hmm.
Our youth buy into this stuff that 50 Cent's put out.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Then they take somebody like Cardi B, and no disrespect to Cardi B. She's an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting her money, right? And she comes out for some causes, and she gets behind some people with some stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the role that she play, and her being a role model, sends the wrong message to the young ladies.
But can we even call Cardi B a role model?
Yes.
Okay, you know.
You and I wouldn't call her a role model.
Right.
But every girl that go get her weave done, and her eyelashes done, and her butt done, and her breast done, and her stomach done, she's a role model.
We know something. I think that I realize that in this country everything is monetized.
Yes.
Right? You know, we just got the law passed, so now Juneteenth is a holiday.
Yes.
And you know it's already been monetized.
Yes.
So next year there will be somebody selling some products related to Juneteenth. So
Yes.
if you want to have a barbecue, you have to have a Juneteenth banner.
Yep.
But who's going to produce that banner?
That's right.
You want to have Juneteenth paper products, your paper plates, your cups,
Yep.
but who's going to produce that?
You know we're gonna produce it.
Absolutely. See, there's so many opportunities out there, right? But we're not seizing on them because our priorities are someplace else.
Well, look, just like what I was just telling you about how the customer service rep at Wells Fargo refused to help us
Right.
in regards to getting the PPP loan. You know, it's too many people like that in positions that they know they could help make a change, but they feel like that ain't our job. If you don't know, you don't know,
Right.
right? I ain't here to help you. You know, although that's your job.
Right.
You know, if I come to you and ask you what I need to do this, you give me the checklist what I need, I'm gonna go get what I need and I'm gonna bring it back.
Right.
The first time I went, you said, "Oh, it's too late. The money's run out." You got to come back when the money come back. When there was a second round of money, you said, "Oh, they changed the criteria."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Oh, you need to be doing this. Oh, you need to be generating X amount of dollars a month, and blah 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 blah. You know, and it was all lies.
But now, speaking about these PPP loans, did they give any of that money to some of these black-owned banks? Like, you know, the bank that Killer Mike is affiliated with. And there's a couple of others that, you know, that are minority, at least minorities up front. Now, I know there may be people behind the scenes who are people of color, but not necessarily the darker you.
The bottom line is, if you were not a part of that SBA association,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't have access to that money.
Okay.
So there were a whole lot of black banks but they're not a part of the SBA.
Right.
So
So that's another way to exclude the black banks.
You know, you had to go where you had. I mean, you could Google it, and it told you where you had to go.
Right.
You know, it told you the banks that you had to go get this stuff from. You know, and I banked with Wells Fargo, commercial bank, and my local banker refused to help me.
Right.
And when I did get in front of them, she lied to me because she didn't want to help me.
You know, that's one of the reasons that we need to change our priorities rather, and that needs to be something that we need to have our own banking institutions because we have the money.
We definitely have the money.
Oh yeah, black folks complain, I ain't got no money. We don't realize how much money or economic activity we generate every year. So we say we don't have no money, but people outside the community are saying, oh, you got plenty of money. And you are making the Kardashians wealthy. You're making Tommy Hilfiger wealthy. You're making Polo wealthy. You're making a guy from Nike extremely wealthy. Steve Jobs is dead and gone, but his children's children are going to be well off because black folks will go out and get the iPhone 10,000.
That's right.
Right? But we say we don't have no money. We got money.
Oh yeah. Well,
we just don't prioritize it. What we do with our money is we throw it away.
We have been called liquid money.
That's what we are.
We are liquid money because there is no financial literacy in the community, and we can't sit still long enough to learn it because, have you ever noticed the most expensive cars are in the poorest neighborhoods?
Yeah.
And because we have been so downtrodden and depressed that the only way we feel good is to fill our life with things.
Right.
And if it's expensive, it makes us feel successful.
Validates us.
Right. And that's a mindset that we have to change. We really, really have to change that mindset because that's a cycle that has to end, because the more we buying 10 and 15-year-old Mercedes Benzes for $30,000, and we're living in the New York City housing projects and newer housing projects and stuff like that, that's not smart investments. Buy an apartment. Renting is for suckers. You know what I mean? Buy something. Own something. Because if you own something, that will inspire your child to own something.
Absolutely. And, you made an interesting point. It reminds me of a funny story. But I want to include some others in this conversation. So if you're listening and you have an opinion about the priorities of the black community, please call in. 888-304-4401. That's 888-304-4401. Now, let me get back to this story. So, back in the 80s, when I would still go to church, there was a bishop, bishop of the church. Bishop has multiple churches under him.
Mm-hmm.
Drove a brand new Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
His son drove like the top of the line Toyota.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Super during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you see the family come in, and the wife would always have fur coats in the wintertime, full length fur coats, and they look like money.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing was you mentioned housing, New York City Housing Authority, and that's where they lived. They lived in the projects, basically across the street from the church. And I'm thinking, now wait a minute. If the pastor of the church is living in the projects, and look, nothing wrong with the projects.
Nothing wrong with it.
The projects was designed to be a stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
You get in the projects, your rent is cheap, right? Your utilities are many times included. That's when you start stacking that paper.
That's right.
So after a few years, you have saved enough money to go out and purchase a home.
Yes.
But if the leader, the man with the vision for the congregation and for the community, is riding around styling in the Benz, and his wife is all decked out in the latest fashions and in fur coats, but you living in the projects, what are you telling your parishioners? What are you saying to the congregation? What is their vision? Because you're supposed to be the one that God is giving the vision to lead the people, but where are you leading them to? You know, I mean, I just never understood that. What are your priorities? Is it that you want to go out and every dime you earn is on your back? Yes, you're going to get noticed, you're going to get attention, but at the end of the day, you might go home and the lights are off.
That's right. Well, you know what? The children call it today, the kids call it today, clout chasing. Is that the right term?
Yes,
Dutch?
sir.
Clout chasing. Everybody's clout chasing, man, and it's sad. It's a sad situation because, you know, it goes back to so many different things that, you know, this conversation can go in so many different areas because black folks got to start listening to "Ain't No Stopping Us Now" all
Right.
over again.
Right.
You know,
And understand the meaning of it.
we got to get ourselves together and polish up our act,
Mhm.
like the song said. Because you know what? I often say this, and you know, I get people like Tiffany Kofor, right?
Mhm.
Oh, you always hard on the woman. You know, you always talk about the woman. Well, if I don't say it, who's gonna say it? Because y'all are lost in most cases, and I'm not talking about all of y'all,
Mhm.
right? But what I'm saying is, I'm not talking about y'all who got it together.
Right.
I'm talking about those sisters that's lost. You know what I mean? That's walking around here with stuff flashing like this on their eyes. Guess what? Ain't nobody hiring you, want you in their establishment with that on your face like that.
Not for nothing. See what happened to the girl from the Olympics.
That's right. Nobody wants you in their establishment with your weave down to your buttocks, and they know it's your weave. You know, then you get patting it and slapping your head because now the people looking at you saying it must be dirty, or you have lice or something that make you do that. So you don't have to do everything times 10, because one thing about ghetto folks, we gonna find a way to shine, and it's not necessarily a good shine.
That's true. And you know what? I think that a lot of sisters, black women in particular, I think they're doing the things they do because I think they believe we like that. That's what we as black men
We don't
want
like that.
to see. Now, you know what? Now, we're of a certain age, right? So, for the most part, we're past that,
Mhm.
right? But for the younger generation, is this what the young boys want to see? And
Well,
let me not say boys, let me say young men. Is
Let-
this
let-
what
let-
the young men
let me
want
tell
to
you,
see?
Let me tell you what happens. See, me and you may have went to a strip club in our younger days, right?
Right.
But it probably was a bachelor party. Somebody was getting married or something like that.
Mhm.
That wasn't the club that we hung out in.
Not at all.
These young boys hang out in the strip club, right? So the women who are strippers, they wore those fluffy slippers and they had extra eyelashes and they put the different wigs on because these was different personas for the strippers, you know, to perform in
And to get that money.
and to get that money.
Right.
So what has happened is these girls have taken the stripper out the club into the streets. All right, and the what the trap boys, what they call them, Dutchy Bang?
Trap boys.
Trap boys, right? Or the block huggers, the corner boys. They went into the strip club and they making it rain, right? And the strippers done came to the street. The corner boys is in the club and in the street. They like that.
Right.
But nobody want that because guess what? If you look around at married women, none of them look like that.
You know, it's a whole different set of circumstances, you know, for a woman who is married and I'll say in a secure marriage, right? She and nothing, you know.
But mind you, even the corner boys, the trappers, or whoever they are, right? They like those women in the club, and they might like to mess with the women in the street.
Right.
But they won't marry that woman.
No, they don't.
Their woman at home is not like that. They got a L7 square girl at home.
Now, that was my point. And I don't want married women to take offense to this, but for a woman who's in a secure relationship, she doesn't need to work as hard as the sister who don't have nobody. For that woman who's at home alone, and we're coming off a pandemic, so you've been in this house for months, right? And you're tired of being alone, and you're lonely. So now, how do you get the attention of men, right? You know, I think some sisters believe that the less clothing you wear, the more attention you're going to get, and that's true. But what kind of attention
it's the wrong
are
attention.
you? Exactly. That's the kind of attention you're going to get. Whereas a married woman, look, I got a man at home, so I'm not going to be out in the street any other way. Because you know something? I don't think, well, no. I know my husband is not going to approve of this, right? Just like as a married man, you're not going out in the street and dressed in a way that's going to disrespect your woman, right? So, you know, that's something you agree upon in a relationship. Look, I'm not going to disrespect you. Don't do it to me. And we'll be good. But for those ladies that are looking to find Mr. Right, you know, unfortunately, the society we live in, nobody really focuses on how much education you have, you know, what sort of personality you have. That comes later. You know, you see a woman, and, you know, we got to keep it real as fellas. The first thing we look at, for the most part, as black men, what's going on back in the back door. How much behind she got, right? And you're going to zero in on that. And then the next thing you know, you're going to slide up to her. You want her phone number, right? Okay. You know, a lot of times, and, you know, that goes on. That went on before us, generation before us, and it's going on after us. Or it will go on after us. You know, because you see what you want. You see what you like. And, you know, you're going to approach it, right? And you're going to go and you're going to get that phone number. But let's be real. You know what the intentions are, right? And I guess it works both ways, because a lot of times a guy's going to go after that sister that, you know, has the big hips, big breasts. You don't know much about her, right? Just like the women, in many occasions, they want the corner boy. They want the dude that's so-called gangster. Now, after you've been used and abused by this dude for a couple of years, it's like, to hell with this. Where's that nerd from high school that I didn't give the time of day?
Hey, man. I laugh about that every time, all the time. Since Facebook, right? I laugh about that all the time, because you know what? All them girls that clown me in high school, right? You know, they all clown me in high school, but when they found me on Facebook, you know, it's like, oh, you remember me? You know, because now they done checked out my profile, they done looked at my pictures, and they said, oh, this guy, man, he seemed to got his stuff together.
Doing something with himself.
And now, and most of the guys that they followed and loved in high school, they're in prison, they're dead, you know what I mean? They strung out,
Yep.
They all jacked up, you know. They don't want no parts of them, you know what I mean? But you didn't want no parts of me then, but now it's a different story.
Right.
It's a different conversation.
And unfortunately, you know what happens, by the time they come around and realize this lifestyle is destructive, by that time, these sisters are badly damaged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Emotionally, psychologically, sometimes physically.
Yes.
Right? Because you get with some brothers, all they understand is if I say something and you don't do it, I'm knocking upside your head.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of these women are escaping trauma, and when they come to you, they have trust issues, they have emotional issues, they come with a lot of baggage.
You're right.
You know? So
you're 100% right. But you know, it's so much that we have to do as a people, man. And you know, I often tell people, I've been telling people this, you know, since the election. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris can't fix the black community. You know, they can't fix the black community. We have to fix the black community. We have to do it. And you know, they can help, but we have to change the mindset of the young men and women in the community. We have to have some financial literacy going on. We have to teach people to, you know, get out of that worker mentality and become entrepreneurs. We have to, you know, teach one another that it's okay to not just say, you know, buy black, but it's okay to frequent black businesses. Let me give you an example, Ron. You know, the streets has an expiration date.
Oh, that's for sure.
Right? We have an expiration date, but the streets doesn't have an expiration date, right? But do you realize that black businesses all have an expiration date?
Unfortunately, yes, we do.
Black businesses have an expiration date. And I'm going to use black designers for an example. Look at all the black designers, Carl Kanai, Fubu, all the black designers that make great product.
Mm-hmm.
They have great products and services, right? They're hot for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. And then black people stop supporting them.
Right, right.
They go back to supporting the European designers.
Mm-hmm.
Because the European designers don't have an expiration date. You know, and when I see that, and I look at Fubu, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Fubu got great stuff that they're still putting out
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
They got eyeglass wear, you know, they got suits, they got cell phones, they got all kinds of things, man. They got Hotel Fubu, they got a real estate company,
Mm-hmm.
but guess what? We're not investing in their product.
And you know what I think it is? I think in many instances, the problem is that other companies, European control companies, in terms of advertising, they spend billions of dollars a year advertising their products, right? Whereas we may not be so aggressive in terms of advertising and marketing to our own people, right? You know,
Well, you know
every
what?
commercial you look at, you're going to see Macy's sale and this one
But-
sale.
but-
You're not
but-
going to see Carl Kanai Fubu.
But the funny thing about this is, right? Those European companies, they don't spend that much money in advertising to black people because they don't really care if we wear their product. The problem is, it's these black entertainers
Mm-hmm.
who wear these clothes, who rap and sing about these products and these clothes, is why our kids go out and buy these clothes.
I think that, but also
because I look at, I research this stuff all the time, and I look, and I be checking it out to see, you know what? For instance, Hennessy.
yeah,
Hennessy is probably the most sought after alcoholic beverage in the black community.
Right.
Right. And Hennessy is owned by the Louis Vuitton company.
right.
They own and make it. Right.
Mhm.
And you can go in any establishment all over the country that's not frequented by black people, and you won't find Hennessy.
Right.
Right. And you want to say why? Are they marketing it to black people? You don't see no Hennessy commercials.
Right.
You don't even see Hennessy advertisements.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that became a cultural thing.
Word of mouth. And you know something? If you think about it, when was the last time you seen a commercial for Newports? Newport cigarettes. They don't even need to do it anymore.
No.
Why? Because hell, we all hooked on Newports. I mean, I don't smoke.
Yeah.
You don't smoke.
Right.
But for those that do smoke, most people in the black community smoke Newport. right?
Mhm.
They don't need to advertise anymore.
That's right.
Now, for Carl Kanai Fubu, when you said 5-6 years is hot, well, you know what? We see brothers and sisters wearing Carl Kanai Fubu in the neighborhood. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is Carl Kanai. This is Fubu. That's how we found out about it. And then there will be some advertising, like on the train, or have some advertising, stuff like that, maybe on the buses. But in terms of, spending billions of dollars on advertising, they don't have that kind of money. And when you look at some of these commercials on TV, the models are not typically black women or black men.
No.
Right? But we see it on TV like, oh, that looks nice. Oh, it's on sale? Okay. If you think about it like that, the large companies have no real competition because you can outspend everybody, like Walmart. Years ago when we were growing up, you had the butcher, you had the shoe shine man, right? You had the lady the lady who had the beauty shop. You had the barber shop. Walmart came to town and absorbed everybody, right?
Home Depot did the same thing.
There you go.
Took out everybody. Yeah, big box. The
No
big box
competition.
store. Yes.
And in this country, they tell us it's all about competition, right? In our society, right, competition is what's supposed to keep our prices down, right?
That's what they said.
That's supposed to be the principle.
It's supposed to be.
But just look at how much things cost nowadays, because there really is no competition. You know what I mean? For those who are not aware of this, there are only four companies that produce all of the food we eat.
Absolutely.
You go into the supermarket and you go down, say, the cereal aisle, and you see, boxes and boxes of cereal. But if you look at who's producing the cereal, 4 companies.
That's right.
Most of these cereals are made by maybe 2 companies.
Post and General Mills.
There you go, right?
That's right.
We think there's a competition.
There's
It's
no
all
company.
an illusion.
That's right. If there's ever a monopoly, that's a monopoly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely a monopoly.
And in terms of monopoly, if you are living here in the Poconos and you need to get to work in Midtown Manhattan, how you gonna get there?
March.
It is a complete and
Monopoly.
total monopoly. There is no other means of transportation other than drive. And driving back and forth.
And trust me, these $15 and $20 vans that they got going now.
Right.
Just think about it. 20 years ago, it was no way possible that the Pennsylvania DOT would give them a DOT number to do it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because Marts would come in and Marts ruled with an iron fist.
Well, do you remember they had a bus company here called Anton's?
Yes, I remember.
And one weekend, all their buses burned up.
I remember that.
Every last one of them.
I remember that.
So, now you have one company that provides all the transportation needs for Northeast Pennsylvania, at least this section of Northeast Pennsylvania.
That's right.
You
That's
know?
right.
Yeah.
But guess what? I believe in karma, right? And COVID has been the karma for a lot of people.
Right.
And karma has been March's karma.
Well, those buses were empty.
Those buses were empty. They still haven't been able to utilize the park and ride over here.
Right.
That's still shut down, right? They got a piece of property that they can't even use. All that lost revenue from those parking passes. Now, I'm sure they got all that PPP money to cover for it. I'm sure. But ultimately, the PPP loans have run out,
Right.
right? And a lot of the business has gone. It's not coming back.
Well, they say the PPP loans have run out. That's the information we're getting, right? But we don't know for sure. There may be still people getting these loans, but
Well-
they're never going to tell us about
Well,
it.
I was just told today that there was a second wave of loans. There was some so-called split payments. Your first payment may have been $40,000. Let's just say you was entitled to $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
They split your payment. Your first payment that hit your account was $50,000,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's another payment that's gonna come due a couple months later or whatever for the other $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that's still out there. For the
Right.
people who didn't get that second payment yet.
Right.
That's the only thing that's still out there. But there are supposedly no new PPP loans after May 28th.
Yeah, that's what they
The
said.
cutoff date was May 28th.
But I realized something. I'm thinking about this the other day. These Apple Watches, where
Mhm.
people can, talk through their phone and
Mhm.
or through their watch rather,
Mhm.
get text messages, stuff like that. Do you remember the old Dick Tracy cartoons?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We're talking. Dick Tracy was around from the 40s,
Mm-hmm.
and in the 1940s, he was talking through his watch,
Mm-hmm.
and we thought, man, that's far out. That'll never happen.
Hey, look at the Jetsons.
Right. Now, here's the thing. Is it possible that this technology existed years ago,
Yes, it did.
but they just held on to it and waited for the right time?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Look at Star Trek. Let's just look at Star Trek.
Right.
Flat screen TVs was in Star Trek.
Right.
The Motorola symbol, the Motorola logo, was the Star Trek
On the shirt.
on the shirt.
Mhm.
That was Star Trek.
Right.
That was Motorola.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Nextel phone. Remember
Mhm.
the Nextel phone?
Yeah.
Boop, 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 talking like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were using that in Star Trek.
Right.
You know?
The two-way communicators.
Yeah. All
Mhm.
that stuff was there.
Right.
So the technology has been there.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, for instance, people talk about this 5G. Oh, 5G is giving us, creating all this stuff. 5G technology the government's been using 5G technology probably at least 15 years.
Sure.
You know what I mean? At least 15, we're just starting to use it.
And that's the point. See, we don't know it, right? So because of that, we're not up on these economic trends. 30 years ago, if we would have invested in, say, Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
if we would have invested in, some of these startup companies, right? We'd have been rich.
Absolutely.
I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up maybe a 20-minute drive from downtown Brooklyn,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay. The houses that my parents bought a house in 1968, it was $22,000. Those houses now are selling for about $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know they were going to build that stadium downtown,
Mm-mm.
right? But the plans have been on the table for some time.
The plans have been on the table since the 80s.
Right. But they would never let certain communities know. So during that time, what happened was, we're talking late 80s, early 90s, people come knocking on your door, tell you they will buy your house cash.
Mhm.
Because they were privy to what was going on.
Mhm.
They knew what was coming. So they come to your house, you paid, $20,000, $30,000 for this house, and they come and tell you, I will buy your house cash. We wouldn't even go to the bank and worry about all this paperwork. I'll give you $300,000 now.
Mm-hmm.
And people thought that was an enormous sum of money.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, it was. They never seen that much money in their life.
That's right.
If you were retired or close to being retired, you could take that money, go down south,
Buy a house cash, put some
and
money
you're
in the bank,
set.
and live happily ever. Especially if you got a pension coming in.
There you go.
You're on cruise control. And you're right. That's what has happened.
Right.
And you know what's happening right now? Even post-pandemic, a lot of these communities in New York, and even in Queens, I'm watching it happen in Queens, still some parts of Brooklyn. Regentrification is happening.
Oh, big time.
Right? So people are selling their houses for $700,000 and $800,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can sell a house today for $800,000 and can't buy it back tomorrow.
Exactly.
A day later, you couldn't buy it back.
Right.
Right? But they're selling those houses for $800,000. They're moving to the Poconos,
Mm-hmm.
and they're buying a house that prior to COVID, the house cost $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now they just paid $550,000 for the $250,000 house 2 years ago.
And they're getting a bargain.
You know, they think they're getting a bargain
Mm-hmm.
because they're saying, I'm going to have $200,000 left, $250,000 left, right? But a lot of those people aren't retired. They're still working.
Right.
What they don't realize, you just spent $550,000 or $600,000
Mm-hmm.
to live in Great Bear,
Right.
right? Now your realtor sold you this house, but didn't warn you about the fine print.
Mm-hmm.
You in a beautiful gated community. You got this beautiful house. You know, Jack Nicklaus golf course, all the bells and whistles. But the one thing they didn't tell you, you paid cash, but the taxes is $25,000 a year.
Right.
So guess what?
You're paying the same thing you paid in New York.
Are you disciplined enough to pay those taxes
Mm-hmm.
and not fall behind those taxes?
Right.
Because that 200 grand you got, if you're not disciplined enough with your money, because you done brought the house.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to buy the Mercedes to go with the house,
Right.
and you're gonna buy that in cash.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna mess up all that money that you sold your house with. Now you have to pay that $25,000 a year in cash, right? And all the other living expenses, and then the commute back and forth money.
Which kills a lot of people.
And guess what? It don't take much to fall behind.
Nope.
And one thing about Monroe County and their taxes,
They will get you out of your house.
they are not forgiving. They
Mhm.
will snatch your house, and these local real estate barons that's up here, they are rubbing their hands together because they know that a lot of you that have coming up here to do this, they know you ain't gonna be able to pay those taxes.
And you know, I'll tell you something. You remember Judge Joe Brown?
Yes.
Okay, I was watching him one day, and he was saying that in America, you never own your home.
That's a true
Even
story.
after it's paid off, he said when you purchase a home, you purchase the rights to that home, not the property, the rights to that home.
That's it.
And just like anything else that you,
The government owns it.
your rights can be revoked. Just like your driver's license,
Mhm.
your medical license, your law license, they can be revoked. Your rights to your home can be revoked. Just don't pay them taxes
Mhm.
and see what happens.
Absolutely.
Your house is going up for tax sale.
That's right.
Yeah. And you know, I was NAACP president for about 6 years here. And during that time is when we had that market crash in 08.
On the way, yeah.
And Monroe County had the highest rate of foreclosure in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So many people came here from New York, myself included, never knew anything about building a home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there was a lot you had to learn, right? And a lot of those who came around the time I came learned the hard way. You know, it appears as if the banks and the builders and other companies were in cahoots.
They were in cahoots.
Right. And, you know, despite that, I think only one person that I'm aware of went to jail.
Perky
Gene Perkidani, right? But he wasn't the only one.
No, he wasn't.
There were many, many people who were doing the same thing.
One of our
Right.
local politicians' father was involved in that.
He ain't in jail, is he?
No,
Right. And he ain't going.
he even killed somebody.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? Like all places, you know, Pennsylvania has its old boy league where,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we'll look the other way on this. We'll look the other way on that, you know. And, but a lot of people lost everything. Had to,
Yeah.
you know, pick up the piece of their lives and maybe go back to New York, maybe go back to New Jersey if you could find a place to live. Because, you know, once you left New York, you know, make no mistake about it, once you went over the George Washington Bridge and through the Holland Tunnel, Lincoln Tunnel, however you got here, the doors behind you closed.
They closed.
In terms of you going back there and buying a house,
You couldn't afford to go back.
you cannot afford. You can go back and hang out.
But you
You
can't
go
afford
back to dinner,
You can't
to a show.
afford to live there.
No. And you know what? That's happening all over this country. All the major cities are being re-gentrified, right?
Mhm.
So place that used to be the hood ain't the hood no more.
Nope.
And that's all over this United States of America. What are we to do? And see, we start talking about priorities, right? One of the priorities that we need to discuss is our future. Where are we going? Because, right now, we're headed, down a destructive path. We're killing each other left and right in places like Chicago and Philly. Matter of fact, I was down in Atlantic City last week. And I guess it was Saturday morning. They showed a woman being robbed. This is a surveillance camera. Woman has a pocketbook. Guy comes up and tries to take her pocketbook. Well, she resists. Now, most people are going to say, well, she should have just gave it up. But if you are, say, a single mother, and you got 4 hungry mouths to feed at home, and this is all the money you have, it's not so easy to give it up.
No, it ain't.
Well, she struggled with the dude. Dude pulls out a gun and shot her in the face. Then she falls down, literally dying. The guy walks over calmly, takes a pocketbook, looks around, picks up his shell casing, and walks away. How long can we do that to one another?
That's horrible, man.
Here's a woman that just trying to make it home, right? And, we get up in arms when we see, a Caucasian man or woman killing one of us. We want to march, right? We want to protest. We want Al Sharpton. But where's Al Sharpton when this woman
That's right.
was shot in the face trying to protect a few dollars in her pocketbook?
That's right. And that's why one of the things I talk about, we all get out here and raise the devil because the police shot and murdered a young black man, and even with George Floyd's situation, right? That was horrible, and we went out and we got justice for George Floyd, which was a great thing, right? But what about all these black on black crimes? When are we gonna start marching and pushing back on those?
But see, that's the problem. See, that's not a priority to us. And
It should be a priority.
Absolutely, it should. When I was still in uniform as a police officer, people would say, "I hate cops." Look, I get it. Right? I understand the relationship between the black community and the police. Right? It has been an abusive relationship. I get that. But sometimes I'd ask them, well, what else do you hate? Do you hate the drug dealer? Do you hate the man that's beating the hell out of his woman? Do you hate the stick-up kids? Because these are your neighbors. Mm-hmm. When something happens and the cops come, you ain't got nothing to say.
Mm-hmm. Well, somehow they try to justify all those other things.
Exactly.
They try to justify the stick-up man, the drug dealer. Like one thing I don't do is I see these different posts on social network, and again, how we got to get ourselves together. They glorify these drug dealers that come home from prison. Oh, so-and-so came home from jail, and they throw them a big party. I had one brother came home from jail. They threw him a big party. I'm watching the video, and they wanted everybody to bring $1,000 to give him $1,000 to help him get on his feet.
Right.
He was a drug dealing. He wasn't a good guy. It's one thing if you're dealing drugs, you go to jail for dealing drugs.
Mm-hmm.
But when you were a drug dealing, murdering drug dealer who had total disregard for life.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing if you killed somebody who was trying to kill you.
Right.
But if you wouldn't kill people because they shorted you $100,
right,
and stuff like that, why are we celebrating him? You know what I mean? Because he did his time and parole let him out. Okay, welcome home. You paid your debt to society. I'm gonna salute you for that. You know what? You did the crime, you did the time, you're entitled to come home and start over fresh. I'm with that. I'm just not for the big party and you asking everybody who knew him when he was in the streets doing what he was doing to come and bring $1,000. Because guess what? I looked at that video and this place was packed.
Mm-hmm.
This dude probably walked away with over $100,000 that
Right.
day. He probably walked away with over $100,000. Now there probably was about 700 people there. All right, and I'm saying all the people want to pretend like they doing good in life and they're successful. They all came with $1,000, so they could say, yeah, I gave him 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So this drug dealer walked with about at least $100,000. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there was other people who gave 500. There was other people who gave 100. So you know what? Why are we celebrating this? You know, like, why do we do this?
But you know, this is, like I said from the beginning, our priorities, right?
Yeah.
You know, we have families that are going hungry.
Mhm.
We're not raising a dime for them.
No.
We have families living in cars. We ain't raising a dime for them.
No.
Right? Now, look, you go to jail and you learn something in jail and you realize, I need to get myself together. Brother, when you come home, listen, I have no problem. I think the law needs to be changed. I think that guys who come home from jail who want to go get a job should not be prohibited from working. Because all you're doing is increasing the rates of recidivism. These guys are going right back to jail when they come out.
If you don't give them an option,
they're gonna make that money one way or the other.
And one thing, one employer in New York City I have to salute is the New York City Transit.
Right.
They are the second chance employer. They don't care if you murdered somebody.
Right.
You can come and get that job. You can drive a bus, you can drive a train, you can be a transit worker in any capacity. It does not matter.
And you know what? We need more organizations, more companies that are willing to take a chance. Because, you know, we talk about crime and we want to resolve the issue of crime. One of the ways to do that is to give people jobs, to give people, you know, some hope. You know what I mean? You come home from jail, you in jail, you got a bachelor's degree, you got a master's degree. When you come home, you should be able to compete for a good paying job. But you know, TP, I'm looking at the time and you know, it's been a great hour.
Yes,
you know, and this is a conversation that we need to keep having. You know, if you're listening, have this conversation with your friends, your neighbors, have it with your children. Because you know something? Generations ago, we had grandma and grandpa. We had the role models, black men in the community, who we respected, who knew their place, who understood the value of being in the community. Just your mere presence changes a lot for young black men. So these are conversations that you need to have, that you need to reinforce. Because this kind of conversation, you're not going to hear it at school. In fact, they're talking about this critical race theory, which I don't know what's critical about it. The fact is they don't want to talk about black history. So issues affecting black people, we need to be the ones discussing them, and we need to find solutions. So next week we're going to come back. We're going to talk about solutions. And I hope you join us again right here next week. Peace.
Peace, y'all. Well, that was good stuff, bro.
Oh, yeah.
That was good stuff, man. We always have great dialogue.
Oh, yeah, man, you know.
Together, man.
That's why I call you, come through.
We always have great dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
You cut this off, Dutch?
Yeah.
Yeah. We always have great dialogue, man.
It's like that rain finally stopped.
That typhoon?
Yeah, man.
That shit wasn't rain. That was a typhoon
I
now.
heard it by my house. I had no power.
Oh, really?
The power went out.
What time you leaving, Dutch?
9.
You gonna miss the start of the game.
Yeah. That's
What do you
right.
think?
I'm going with Phoenix.
You going with Phoenix?
Yeah.
You think they gonna beat Giannis and the crew?
Yeah. I think that boy down low is just as good as Giannis. He just don't get to shine. DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, okay. All right.
So,
Well, I damn sure be on head home now to give you some snacks, and I'll definitely be in front of the TV. I got to see this because Phoenix ain't been there. Well, Milwaukee ain't been there since what, 74?
Since Kareem.
Right, 74. And what about the Suns? When last time they won the championship?
93.
93. They didn't win, did they?
No, that
They
was
was in
when
it.
Barkley and them went against
Okay, that's
Jordan
right.
and them.
Wow. Okay, it's gonna be a good game. All right, Dutch.
All right, see you
I'll
later.
see you next week. All right, TP. Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. Don't worry about it. You know, we're not enough money now. Yeah, bro. How you? Good, man. I hear you, bro. Hey, catch me in this, man. Always a pleasure, bro. Always a pleasure, bro. All right, you too now. Turn people up. How you doing, though? You alright, man? Alright. Oh, man. That's what's up, man. I'll let y'all later. I gotta take my son home. Okay, alright. Alright, we'll be here.
What up,
Who that?
bro?
Dutchy Bang Bang? In the
Chilling,
Bizzle?
chilling.
What's good, bro?
What's good?
Life. We here,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Alright then. I'm waiting for your man.
He outside?
Nothing. I don't know what he doing. That nigga supposed to. You know how he do, man.
Sauce pulling the sauce.
When they ready to get situated, let me know so I can. Yo, where you at, bro?
I'm down the block. I'm coming.
All right, cool.
I'm coming.
All right, we here.
All right.
All right, bro. Oh, man. You ain't gonna do shit. So did you watch that bullshit?
Nope.
What you talking about?
Talking about verses.
Yeah, I didn't watch that shit
Nope.
neither. They said R. Kelly
Either
was
one
drunk.
of them. Soldier Boy or the Key
I seen that
shit.
dumb shoulder boy shit. That was just for the kids, man. That was just something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I see Atlanta got bumped. They gone.
Yo, go in there
Mhm.
for me, please.
And do what?
It's some apple crown in there.
Oh man, in the fridge?
Yeah.
Woo! I see.
Get a cup.
You were ready. You ain't gonna do shit.
I got.
Oh, all right, cool. Niggas got the incense in here and all that, so you know it goes down in here.
Nah, they did that because what's the name of them came back.
Who? Them ladies?
Yeah.
Oh. The Sunday.
So I'm putting this on first.
What's that?
Master Flash and the Furious 5 2021
That's dope.
Lifetime
I'm with that.
Grammy Award recipient, 2007
Yo,
Rock
you didn't give it to me.
Oh shit, I'm
Lifetime
sorry. Damn, I thought.
inductee.
Forgive me, Dutch.
Here with the Takeover Tuesday team on Genesis.
So we gonna burn in here today, right?
.com.
What?
You gonna burn in here?
No.
Oh, it's a wrap?
Yeah, they started their show back in here.
Who?
The Sunday Crew. Ladies.
So they was complaining?
No, but that should be. Do it smell like it in here? If it
I don't smell
like
nothing.
it? That's what I'm saying. I ain't. You know me. I
Yeah.
don't even know the
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but I ain't coming and.
Yeah, I got you, bro. I got you 100%.
Mhm.
I got you. Yeah, how about some hardcore?
But I see what's the name was burning cigar in here though.
Who
But I
that?
still ain't fucking.
TP?
Yeah,
Well, that's the show. He can do whatever the fuck he want. You know?
yeah, ain't gonna get yelled at.
Alright then.
Okay, so whenever you ready to start, we can start. What? Yo, what it is they want to start using make a YouTube channel for our show,
Okay.
and they mute in the beginning.
The
Of
take
the
over.
show,
Yeah,
'cause,
that bow, bow,
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just find
beat.
some uncopywritten beats, and we're gonna go over that.
Alright. But it gotta be hard beats though. I don't want no corny beats. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.